Hey, we're here at the Bertelsmann Foundation in Washington, D.C., and we're asking folks in our office and around town for their thoughts on the U.S., Europe, and the transatlantic relationship. And the next question is, what are the biggest challenges moving forward for the transatlantic community?
So I think there's the challenges that the US and Europe face individually, and then the challenges that they face together that could offer room for cooperation. And so I think the biggest one that they're both facing that they can work on together is climate change.
We hear a lot of divisive rhetoric, a lot of different ideologies between different types of groups of people, and that prevents us from being able to come together on issues that I was kind of talking about before, like climate change.
And I think, the most global pressing challenge that we have is climate change. And that will require for us to work together to solve that.
We can't just sit on our hands and say, equivocating, debating things that we know are scientific fact. As storms get more serious, you have droughts, you have floods. These are very real issues and we have to deal with them. We can't debate things that are scientific fact.
The pandemic has really shined a light on public health and what that looks like in different places.
You'll see the denial of a lot of resources that people need in this country we're not getting.
And I think it's more important now because there's other countries starting to challenge that traditional Western point of view.
There are a number of different variations of democracy and of autocracy, of populism, of nationalism.
I think the rise of China really, and how countries respond to it will require a coordinated and steadfast cooperation.
I think externally there's threats of China, which with huge amounts of money, but very different values than the transatlantic partners have.
The Indo-Pacific will be the major chessboard in the future.
We have a lot of issues when it comes to social media and maybe Russian bots and various encounters with sowing disinformation.
Understanding the role that technology is going to play in this transatlantic relationship, I think it's a hurdle right now because it's evolving so fast. Politicians and governments can't keep up.
One of the biggest challenges is going to have to confront ways that we can preserve our democracy and preserve, freedom of speech and just these general rights that many of us might take for granted.
I think if we could unify a little bit more and kind of take some different cues from each other instead of trying to be first to do this and say that we're the nation that started this, I think that it would be better for humanity as a whole.
Whether it's digital policy, whether it's China, whether it's Russia invading neighboring countries in Europe, we've got to figure out a way to be more unified on the US side and on the European side to have some sort of common approach, because if we can't get together on these things, we're not going to be impactful. And if we're not impactful, we're not relevant anymore.